story of history is the story of invasions. One group of people moving into someone else's land and taking it. One nation ends, another begins. Invasions drive history. Few Americans understand this is happening to them right now. The United States of America is being invaded.
For the love of God, this is a damn invasion. Who is allowing this?
They invaded our privacy.
I think it's an invasion of the country.
In other words, it's ending. The country you grew up in no longer exists. Soon it will be unrecognizable. No one is fighting back. Few are even acknowledging it. And the people who lead us are letting it happen. Why are our leaders letting this happen? Well, to destroy the country and to change the demographics. Who lives here determines what the country's like. This country is changing faster than you may understand. Americans are being replaced. That's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. In August of 2023, illegal immigration outpaced American births, a brand new population. Last year alone, over 3 million people came here illegally just over our southern border. The media won't tell you it's happening, but if you look around, you can see it, and you can see it most clearly in our cities, which are collapsing. We elect people to protect us. That's what politicians are paid to do. But they've done the opposite. They've sold us out, and they've crushed what our ancestors built. Take a look at our cities. They're hellish, and immigration is the reason. The city of Chicago was in tough shape even before Joe Biden opened the border. Now, parts of it are basically uninhabitable. Even the socialist mayor of Chicago says the city is breaking under the strain.
Without real significant investment from our federal government, it won't just be the city of Chicago that won't be able to maintain this mission. It's the entire country that is now at stake.
Chicago's politicians may complain about illegal immigration in public, but in private, they're paying for it with your money. They're spending more on illegal aliens than on their own citizens. They're doing this secretly. They're hiding it from the public. Our team uncovered a shadow terminal, for example, inside Chicago O'Hare Airport. Hundreds of migrants were being hidden there secretly. Our team pulled up with cameras rolling, and at first we didn't see much. The city erected a black tarp to hide what was going on. The motive was simple. They didn't want us to see it. And a third-party security group paid for with your tax dollars told us that was prohibited. We weren't allowed to see.
What are you doing?
I want to look inside.
For what? For what?
They weren't local or federal law enforcement, so we ignored them. They had no authority. They were rent-a-cops. Inside, our team found more than 100 beds on the floor. The smell was overpowering, repulsive. It was filthy. But it's not just airport terminals that have been given over to people who've come here illegally from the poorest countries in the world, without permission, criminally, and yet being supported in every detail of their lives by taxpayers. No, even police stations in Chicago have been turned into refugee camps. This is new video never seen before of what's actually happening inside Chicago's police stations. Keep in mind, the people who work in those police stations are paid to protect you, but that's not what they're doing. They're running refugee camps for illegal aliens. As our cameramen approached the Chicago police precinct in the city's downtown to see what was happening inside, you see people come out, illegal aliens, shooting them the middle finger and yelling. They didn't hide their hostility. Many other illegals have been pushed into poorer, predominantly black neighborhoods on the south side. We went there. We spoke to someone who has lived on the south side of Chicago virtually his entire life. He's enraged by how the city has fallen apart under its sanctuary city policy.
Andre Smith, CEO of Chicago Against Violence. I don't know the count, but I know that the readiness, the language of sanctuary city, state, and county should have had a plan, but it led to a massive destruction. I have seen almost the worst of the worst in Chicago, but seeing this migrant crisis was the most devastating thing that I ever seen. Seeing them in police stations, outside of police stations, seeing them in schools, outside of the schools. It's unheard of. And that's why every city that call themselves sanctuary is facing the same issues.
That wasn't Texas along the Rio Grande. It was Chicago, more than 1,000 miles from the Mexican border. That's what many parts of America look like now. New York is the largest city in the United States, this country's financial center. The waves of illegal immigration have transformed it. Every neighborhood in the city feels it. The Upper West Side of Manhattan isn't a financial center, and it's not a slum. It's a place where middle-class and upper-middle-class families live and have for more than 100 years. But it's been totally overturned by the migrant wave. Illegal aliens have been placed at public expense in hotels. The families who live nearby are terrorized. Some have moved. Businesses in the neighborhood have been destroyed. Watch the chaos here. These aren't tired, poor immigrants yearning to be free and make a better life. These are two drunk illegals fighting on the streets of uptown Manhattan in a neighborhood they didn't build and shouldn't be in. Imagine living in a place like this. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine because this is what their neighborhoods have become. A restaurant owner in the neighborhood, who turns out to be the father of pop star Lady Gaga, is enraged, and he has every right to be.
Well, my name's Joe Germanata, and we're in Joanne Trattoria, my restaurant on the Upper West Side. When they initially got here, I mean, it was just chaos.
Yeah, you're like, yo!
They would have fights in the street.
Oh, shit.
All of a sudden, about 80 motorbikes, unregistered, showed up, parked in the neighborhood. And they used to race them up and down the street at night. They'd hang out on them, they'd rev their engines, etc., with their girlfriends. So is it an invasion? Yes.
Closer to the border, it's even worse and much more obvious. Houston, Texas isn't far from Mexico. Probably close to 1 million illegal aliens live in Houston. But not just within the city, the suburbs have been invaded. In fact, new suburbs have emerged that cater to illegal aliens. Colony Ridge is the name of one of them. It's probably the largest concentration of illegal migrants in the United States. It's a housing development, specifically for people who have no right to be here. Colony Ridge was designed to make money from the migrant crisis that's destroying this country. The development's owners have targeted immigrants and given them predatory loans. That's not a guess. The Southern District of Texas just sued Colony Ridge for doing this, and yet it's still there. No one has really done anything about it. At first glance, Colony Ridge looks like a normal American suburb. Houses next to houses, kids playing in the streets. But look more closely. It's not American. It's a slum. We spoke to one person there who has learned the hard way what happens when an invasion hits suburbia.
You could probably pull the call log at the sheriff's department and you would hear lots of complaints about the loud music. So loud that I have central air and heat here, but we have to put window units in our bedrooms so we can sleep. And even then, you can still feel the thump. They want us to hear. We're coming. That's how you know it's an invasion. They want us to hear their music.
Our team spent the day driving around Colony Ridge to get a glimpse of what the rest of America may soon look like.
So we're in the Colony Ridge land development right now.
Michael Evangelista Yasaga is a lawyer who lives in Houston.
This is what has been called an illegal immigrant haven. Everything here is in Spanish. I mean, we're literally in Mexico. This is a whole different part of the world. Iglesia Pentecostal Fuego y Poder. Fire and power. We're literally in Mexico.
If you wanted to live in Tegucigalpa, you'd move there. But you don't. You live in America, the place you grew up, the place you'd like to see your children grow up, in much the way that you did. But that won't be possible because of the single greatest sellout in our history. Hundreds of years of America eliminated by an invasion that our leaders made possible. You should know that.